once you see even the top law enforcement institutions in this country themselves abandoning the rule of law, from the Department of Homeland Security to the FBI, then you have ordinary criminals saying, well, if they're not going to follow the rule of law, why the heck should I, if those are the top law enforcement agencies in the country? And so it's a culture of the abandonment of the rule of law. And I think, ironically, we've abandoned both our culture of free speech and our culture of the enforcement of the rule of law at the same time. And I think that to bring this country back, we're going to have to revive those base principles that the country was founded on in the first place. That you do believe in the rule of law. That you enter this country, if you want to, legally through the front door, not through the back door. That you do get to express any opinion, whether it's right wing or left wing. You get to express that opinion without government retaliation through the front door or back door. Merit, the basic idea that the elected leaders we elect to run the government should actually run the government, right, rather than the bureaucrats sitting in that FBI or DHS that are ignoring the rule of law. Those are the base principles that we need to revive. And if we do, we're going to have a country. And if we don't, we don't have that country left. That's as simple as the choice we face right now. Really quick question
before you go. I asked my 40,000+ followers on Substack email list to send me a question to ask you. I'm going to go. You know, the question most people asked was, what position would you be willing to take in President Trump's administration? Are you having any conversations about VP pick, which is my hope? What say you?
Well, look, I've had some good conversations with President Trump since dropping out of the race and since I've endorsed him. And I do think it's vital that he be elected as the next president. First, I think it's important not to count your chickens before they hatch. I think it's going to be a very challenging 7 months ahead. And I do see somewhat of a culture of complacency developing in our own party and our own movement that we got to reject. I think that we're in the early innings of the tricks the other side is going to pull. And, you know, I think it's far from a foregone conclusion that Biden's even going to be the nominee. So that's where my focus is. Now, should Trump be reelected? Look, I'm going to look at how am I able to have the maximal impact on the country and make that second term even more successful than his first term. A lot of different ways to do that. I think that two of the things I'm pretty focused on are what I think of as the two mass deportations that we need in this country. The first mass deportation is the deportation of anybody who's in this country illegally, being returned to their country of origin and building that southern border wall and sealing it with our own military. That's the first mass deportation. But I often say don't forget the second one as well, which is the mass deportation of those 3 million plus federal bureaucrats out of that Washington, D.C. bureaucracy.
Now, let me ask you about that first deportation. Do you really think the American people have the stomach to deport 10, 20, who knows? Like, no one really knows how many illegals have come into our country. But do you really think we have the stomach after, you know, MSNBC put up one video of a child crying? Do you really think that we have the stomach to do it, or are we stuck with these illegals in our country?
No, I think we do have the stomach to do it. Actually, there was Axios and some others published a survey just last week, Kathy, which found that it was 52% of Democrats. So you got the general population, but you got about half of Democrats were in favor of mass deportations. Now, Axios, of course, put their spin on it, the harshest of the Republican immigration policies. Well, my point is it's not that harsh if a majority of Americans and even half of Democrats are in favor of it. I'll also give you an interesting fact that a lot of people may not be aware of. There's over 1 million people in this country that have already had a final order of removal, which means they've gone through the full appeals process, through the court system of all the protection, and they're still in this country, right? And so I think that there is a rational way when you go through the sequence of this. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. And when people see we can get that done, I think they'll have the confidence that we're able to go the distance and get the full rule of law enforced.